Final Fantasy. Over the many years of the franchise's existence, it has become known for many different things. The franchise has set genre-defining trends and shaped the way we view JRPGs as a whole. Since its inception in 1987, the franchise has undergone many different changes. Some have been well received, while others have not been. Regardless of one's opinion on these changes, there's one thing that almost every fan can agree on. Final Fantasy music is absolutely fantastic. I wanted to make this list today because the music of this franchise has left such a deep impact on me. The legends like Nobuo Uematsu and Masashi Hamauzu have created pieces of music that are arguably as important to the Final Fantasy games as their plots or characters. This list was almost impossible to create because each soundtrack is so unique and has its own little quirks. Nevertheless, here goes nothing. This may come as a surprise to people who know me well, as I am one of the few people that finds Final Fantasy VI to actually be a little bit overrated. But this game's track list is something that is most definitely not overrated. The best way I can describe Uematsu's work this time around is simply emotional. There are so many intense moments in this game that carry a lot of weight, and a big part of that is the music. The first time I heard Searching for Friends, I just had to sit there on the world map for like 5 minutes. My favorite track from the game is Celise's theme. That moment in the story where she attempts to take her own life is incredibly powerful, thanks to this emotional composition. And of course, we have the musical genius that is Dancing Mad, which I consider to be the best final battle theme in the entire franchise. It literally is over 15 minutes of pure epicness. My favorite Final Fantasy comes in at number 4 on this list, and that is Final Fantasy IV. I mean, when a game opens up with a song as intense as the Red Wings theme, you know you are in for a very exciting adventure. The game's music reminds me nostalgically of what it was like to be on my first playthrough of a Final Fantasy game ever. Since this was the first game on the Super Nintendo, a lot more was possible music-wise than it was in the previous games that were on the NES. The variety and style throughout the game, to me, was a manifestation of Uematsu really showing what he was capable of for the first time. From melancholic beats like my personal favorite, The Theme of Love, to frantically paced battle tunes like the battle with the 4 Fiends, or character melodies like Rydia's theme, Final Fantasy IV really does have it all. Final Fantasy X was the first game in the series where the main composer wasn't Nobuo Uematsu. Instead, Masashi Hamauzu took the reins, and those wondering if the quality of music could be upheld were reassured that there would be absolutely zero drop in quality. That doesn't mean there wasn't a shift in style, however. In this case, this doesn't mean it's worse music. In fact, it's actually quite the opposite. The differences between the two composers allowed the music of the franchise to stay so fresh and unique. I thought Final Fantasy X in particular did a fantastic job of getting the whole vibe for every different locale right. I mean, there's so many different settings in this game, whether it's Besaid Island or Mount Gagaset, and the music fit perfectly for every location that you went to. Also, out of all of the Final Fantasy games, I think this one's music gets stuck in my head the easiest. I can still clearly hear in my head the sound of the screen shattering and the battle theme firing up. Final Fantasy VII, one of the franchise's most popular games, comes in at number 2 on this list with good reason. I consider this to be Uematsu's best work, and he's never done anything better. I really love how the sound or the instruments used in this game are in sync and consistent throughout the game. It gives off the feeling that the soundtrack was crafted not only as individual pieces for particular moments in the story, but also with the rest of the game in mind so that everything meshed together perfectly. This game's world map theme to this day brings me to the verge of tears. It's that beautifully composed. Everybody knows about iconic songs such as One Winged Angel or Aerith's theme, but there are so many hidden gems in this soundtrack that grow on you, such as A Head on Our Way and Tifa's theme. If I was to point somebody in a direction of a template of video game music, it would be this game. Coming in at the number 1 spot on this list is the Final Fantasy XIII trilogy. And I know, while the Final Fantasy XIII trilogy are some of the most controversial games in the franchise, one thing that is very seldom contested, however, is the fact that these games have masterfully crafted soundtracks. Hamazu returns to the series with these titles, and there is so much to offer musically, it's incredible. The jump to PS3 and Xbox 360 essentially took away all limitations on Masashi, and he was able to show off his musical genius. The sound of violin may not be for everybody, but he has convinced me personally that it is the best instrument to create intense battle music. But I think even further than that, we get to see the game truly shine with music that was made to fit cutscenes properly. Since 13 was the first game in the franchise to have really extensive cutscenes, this was the first time sweeping emotional pieces were able to be truly in sync with what was going on screen. Even just the menu themes for 13 and 13-2 were just sensational in my opinion. Pure musical genius. And that's my list, guys. I know it's probably different than what a lot of you guys would have had on your own list, but that's what's fun about making these lists. There's so many different good pieces in every single game in the franchise. Even I know right now I'm thinking about Final Fantasy V song and how they really just transport you into that fantasy setting like no other game can do, or how the very holy choir or orchestra sounding music of Final Fantasy XII is just so fantastic. To be honest, if you asked me tomorrow what I thought, I could have an entirely different opinion. And that's why I want to know what you guys think about this topic down in the comments below. Let me know how you would rank the Final Fantasy games musically, and what other games do you think are out there that rival Final Fantasy in terms of music. I have a few in mind, but that's a discussion for another video, and I'm also thinking about maybe doing a top 5 soundtrack for each separate Final Fantasy game. Let me know if you guys would be interested in that also. But if you liked the video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I'll maybe bringing you guys more movies, TV, video game, and anime content. I'll leave a link to my Twitch and my Twitter down in the description below so you can find out when I go live or when I post a new video. And until then, this is Master Menard, signing off.